Good day, everyone. So let's talk about careers that nurture. Careers that move and stir people or you emotionally. Energy that moves the emotions. Energy of caring, feeling. That's the moon conjunct the midheaven energy. And there's a lot of things you want to look at if you have the moon conjunct the midheaven. It's not the easiest energy to understand when you first start working with it, okay? And the moon conjunct the midheaven energy, to me, represents some of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which are your physiological needs met? Do you have air? Do you have water? Do you have food? Do you have shelter? Can you sleep? Do you have clothing? The safety needs. Do you feel safe? Do you have employment? Do you have someone who cares about you? What about love and belongings in the hierarchy? Do you have intimacy? Do you have a sense of family around you? This is the moon here. The moon is concerned about those things. Those are her causes, and this is what she cares about, and this is what she wants to nurture. The moon is an inclusive energy. The moon gets around to every single sign of the zodiac. She doesn't just go to Aries. She goes to Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, all the way around to Pisces. Then she goes back into Aries again. How you doing? She's in a new phase every 2 weeks. Time for new beginnings. And she's in a full moon phase. It's time to let go of things that aren't helping you, that aren't nourishing you, that aren't serving you, that aren't feeding you. So you want to know, were you born on a new moon conjunct the midheaven, which means the sun and moon were conjunct here? Were you born on a full moon midheaven conjunct? What about, are you a cuspy moon conjunct the midheaven? Were you born between the signs of Gemini and Cancer? Well, then you're a Gemini Cancer moon conjunct the midheaven. And you want to look at the moon through the eyes of Gemini and Cancer. Okay? But the overall feel here is about feelings and energies around caring and concern. And like I mentioned, Maslow's hierarchy of the physiological needs, right? And the safety needs and the loving needs. That's there in your career sector if you have this energy. So how are you going to work with it? Those of you who carry it, how are you working with it? What does it mean for you this entire lifetime in your career? Well, there are so many possibilities. There's no way I could even discuss them all. It could be as simple as you just want a career where you're helping other people. And that can be any position and any profession. You can be a caring individual in sales. You can be a caring individual in the hospital, a doctor, a manager, a nurse, a lawyer, a caretaker, a grocery worker, retail, public service, whatever. You may just want to have a caring energy about you. But if you want to go really into more of a caring, nurturing, nourishment, professional thing, you could look at what nourishes. Do you want to work in the food industry that nourishes people? Do you want to plant the seeds in the soil that nourish people? Be a farmer, be in agriculture. Do you want to cultivate nourishment? Do you want to serve nourishment? Are you a waiter or waitress? Are you preparing nourishment? Are you a cook? Are you a chef? Are you a mother? Are you a mother with this placement? You may just want to be a mother and be seen as a full-time mother or full-time dad with this placement. Yes, indeed. So maybe you're good at baking things. Any things, any places, people, things that nurture could be very important to this energy. Any energy that cares could be important. Anything that stirs emotions, anything that maybe brings the family unit closer together, or has a family feel to it. You may not want to work for anybody unless they feel like family to you. Your family could be your work with this placement, for whatever that reason is. When you go to work, that's where you feel fed. That's where you feel nurtured with this placement. Okay? And then you could be working in any areas around nourishment and nurturing and food and safety, and that could be so many different professions, as I mentioned. Okay? And so when you have this placement and you're seen as a nurturer and someone who cares, you have to remember that sometimes we can care too much. And a lot of people with this placement, or people that have their midheaven in Cancer, it's true. They will tell you, I care too much. It's not good all the time, because what happens is they care so much, they forget about their own needs. It's true. I find people with the Cancer midheaven or moon in Cancer up here, a lot of them, not everyone. Remember, there's always exceptions in astrology. And we're just talking about general suggestions here. But a lot of them feel like they care so much about everybody that they have forgotten to care about themselves. And so you need to watch that. If that's you, if you ever come home from work and you just feel exhausted and drained, you just need to remind yourself. Okay? So if we, if we take it a step further and bring someone's chart into the mix, let's talk about music and how music can stir the soul, and how going to a movie can stir the soul, and how going to Disneyland can stir the soul and is about family and all that good stuff. And music, my mother used to play the piano. The whole family on my mother's side was very much about music. And I remember growing up, she loved to play the Boston Pops, holiday music. And back then, I really, I was more into, pop or rock or anything else, but I really was not into really that kind of classical style. Now I love it, but back then I was like, oh my gosh, let me get something else. But I would be stirred every time the Boston Pops played a Christmas song or was playing a song. I would get sentimental. I would get choked up. Not every single song, but some of the songs would really stir me emotionally. And I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, gosh, I really don't like this classical stuff. What's going on? Well, where I'm going with this is I decided to look at the conductor of the Boston Pops. And I go, what is his chart? He's got to have something there around the moon or whatever. And I pulled his chart, and he has the moon conjunct the midheaven. Yes, he does. I'm talking about Mr. Fiedler, the amazing, talented soul of the Boston Pops many, many years ago. Famous conductor, did so much for the Boston Pops, was born in Boston, and had the moon conjunct his midheaven. I don't know if he knew he had it or not. Many of us don't know we have the moon conjunct our midheaven or IC or ASC until we really look at our chart and get to know it. But he's a perfect example of doing the moon conjunct the midheaven. Because what? He stirred people through the music. But guess what else he did? On his days off, he was involved with the fire department. Search and rescue. Now that's very moon-like energy, isn't it? I'm going to rescue you. I'm going to save you. I'm going to help you. The fire department is very much about caring about other people, just like the police department is, and the military. Protect. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to save you. I'm going to help you. So not only did he stir us with his music emotionally, he was also someone who was helping other people with the fire department, and he would be a volunteer for them. And I then thought, I wonder if he still lives in Boston, because he was born in Boston. And so if you are born where your moon conjunct the midheaven is, chances are you're on your moon midheaven planetary line. And so I looked at his chart, and yes, he stayed in Boston where he was born. He was with the Boston Pups for a very, very long time. Boston was his home. And yes, he lived on his moon conjunct midheaven line in Boston. So this is an example of how our chart energy plays out. He may or may not have known he even lived on his moon line. For those of you who want and desire to live on your moon midheaven line, that's a possibility. And when you look at astrocartography, the planetary line energies, it's amazing because we're never really stuck in life. If we don't really like what's going on where we're living, we can always make a change. And so you want to look at what line are you living on? What planetary line are you living on right now? Are you living on your Saturn line? Are you living on Venus? Are you living on Mercury? Are you living on Neptune? What are you living on? Your IC, DSC, AS, whatever. You want to know that. Because if you're not feeling comfy cozy and you don't really like it, the beauty of astrology is the chart can suggest other places. And so I always say, change your location, change your life. I'm going to end there. I'm going to show you the charts. Enjoy the moon conjunct the midheaven. What a beautiful energy. I'll talk to you soon.